Hello, good afternoon. Am I audible properly? Can anyone of you confirm? Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll wait for some of them to join. Okay, so based upon the last session, have you people created the Scrum board on Trello? Are your project people confirmed and have you started creating your boards? I shown you how to create an Excel sheet. MVC is a way of structuring an application, yeah, where we have got model view controller. We'll give a talk about it today. Okay, so I hope you people have selected your project partners and other things are done. Okay, just to get a one more better idea. Sorry. Okay, this is good. And have you created your Scrum board on Trello? Like, have you broken your project into stories? Anyone have tried upon that? Okay. See, it is Mansoor. It is dependent upon the number of modules your project have. I spoke with Arun sir after our last session, and he said, "See, this time it is not in my hands to approve about number of modules. So, if your number of modules are high in your project, you are allowed for three partners, but ideally it is better you stick to two. That way, you will not be able to face any last moment issues during the project presentations." Okay. Okay, then. So let's begin and let's try. How can we implement our project as we have been working upon it, and how these things will happen in our work. So we have spoken about how to break your project into stories, right? Have you given that a try? Like, see, for the Scrum board, I guess around 6 or 7 people have done that. Others, see, it's totally up to you. As I said, you want to break down the project, work accordingly, it can be done, or else the way you want to happen, you can work upon that. So now let's begin. What we are going to do here is we are going to start with our backend now. Yeah, we have created the database. See, last session I have created my database. This time, yeah, database is done. I have created, I might require some refactoring, correct? But on other hand, I will now create and work on my backend API. So as I discussed earlier, I'm going to select Spring Boot as my backend API. And see, how do you create a project and how do you break that? So for example, if I select dbeaver, okay. Okay, so by the time this is getting loaded, I will tell you what is the overall plan. This sessions, I have first session, I have shown you how to set up the project plus database. This session I will talk about, this session will be all about backend API, creating your, I will create your backend API, and this time I will create it without database for now. That will give you an idea how to just create your entities and talk about it. Yeah, then in next session I will talk about, yeah, connecting this backend API to DB. Sorry. Then in fourth session we will apply the business logics in the backend API. Okay, so at least we are in session 2 right now, and I will keep on talking about this backend. What my recommendation would be is start working on your project with me. It will become easier for you to take care of that. Our project will consist of 3 overall parts. First part was setting up and creating the database. Second part is all about the backend API, and then the third part will be about your front end, which will be on React. Yeah, which will be on React. So I will talk about React in the session 5, 6, 7, 8 mostly. So my plan is more, not more than 10 sessions will be required for completing this parts. Okay, but if you do not follow this along with me, that will be a problem. So now I'll tell you what, we have got our project. And if you remember from last time, we have created the ER diagram. In the ER diagram, we have got books, we have got loans, we have got staff, we have got members. And here, these are some of the like these are the main entities my project will revolve around. Is that correct? These are the main entities across which my application will revolve. So now I will have to like consider this when creating my backend API. Remember, when I start creating my backend API, I will be making use of something what we call as Spring Boot. Yeah. Now Spring Boot is an extension of Spring. Yeah, it's an extension of Spring framework. And how does that work? It's an extension of Spring framework. To create this extension, what we have to do, खाना मंगा दिया है तुम्हारा. Okay. So now what will happen here is, see, whenever, for example, consider for book. Now book is my entity. Book is my entity, and this entity will have what certain values like id. What are the things we have under book? We have got id, title, author, isbn, so on, right? We have got this many book and the things available. Now what I will do is, I have to create an API. So the first initial 5 API I will create. What I want us to create is first API which will be allowing me to get all the books, get a single book, post a book, update a book, and delete a book. So what I need to do is I have to create the 5 APIs minimum. Now when you start creating the APIs, now this is, I am not talking about in terms of, see, this is something I am talking in terms of all the languages. Like you work on an API on Node.js, how to structure an API. How do we structure an API? What is the entity we are working for? The entity is called as book. So the name of the API will become slash books. The name of the API will become slash books. Now, whatever API you want to create, remember there are verbs in API. Yeah, there are verbs in API. So how do we actually make the calls? See, try understand. First, we call them as HTTP verb. What are the HTTP verb we have? Get, post, put, deletes are nothing but my HTTP verbs. On other hand, what will be the name of the API? And what will be the, like, actually how will you use it? See, it's simple. First API is a get API. And how do we call it? We call it as slash. The book will become books by default. The name of the entity was what? Book. That is why the name of the API will become what? Books. So how do we read this? If you write your API by calling slash get books, it is very wrong. You should not do that. Yeah. So now how do I use it? For example, your API is hosted on localhost 8080. How do you call it? HTTP colon slash slash localhost colon 8080 slash books. This is how you call it. Then you have got, when you want to fetch a single book, what will you do? Book get slash. So the name of the API, like name of the API is not get books. The verb is get. The API is what? Books. And then slash, you will pass your ID for the book. Yeah, you will pass the ID for the book. So how will the usage be? HTTP colon slash slash localhost colon 8080 slash books slash 5012. This is how you call the books. That this is the get API. So what you're telling, from all the books, get me book at this particular ID. Then how do you post for a book? In post, you still call books plus you pass the request body. So how will the call go now? HTTP same slash books, but this time there will be, like, from your Swagger, from your Postman, you will pass a request body in a JSON format. Okay. Then when you want to update, what is the type of the verb you use in your API? Instead of post, you will use put. Yeah, you will use a put API. And under put API, what is the name of your API? It will be again what? Books slash ID plus the request body. Yeah. And then when you want to delete, you simply say delete slash books slash id. Are you getting an idea? How do you name your APIs? This is a very important section. Most of the people mess up here. Yeah, can I get a quick thumbs up if you have understood this part? Like whenever you start, first to just get the thing started, what will you do is you will create this 5 APIs for yourself. Are we clear on this? Can I get a quick update, please? Yep. Okay. Now, once I'm done with this, what is the next thing I'll have to do is I have to set up a project and then I have to create in my Spring Boot. The application is broken into multiple layers. Okay. An application is broken into multiple layers. Yeah. In fact, yeah, how does that happen? So your application will be having what? A controller layer. Then it will have what? I have spoken about this earlier. Your applications in Spring are broken into 3 layers. See, how will that application be? We have got repository layer, then we have got the actual, then we have got the actual database. So here in my controller layer is where I will write my controllers. Yeah. In Spring, remember one thing first. So what will happen? And apart from this, one thing which will be moving across common in all this project is your model layer. So here it is nothing but the data carrying class. It is okay. It is nothing but a data carrying class. So in our situation, it will be what? Book.java. Then for controller, I will create what? Book controller.java file. Okay. Then we have got book service.java file. And then here you will have book repository.java file. Okay. So the idea is someone will pass an object, like someone will give you from front end. For example, if it is a get API, what they will do is they will pass you, there will be functions. Yeah, consider the 5 method, 5 functions. So here 5 APIs, there will be 5 functions. So 1 2 3 4 5. Let's say they make a call for get. Now what will get do? The book service will now also have 5 functions, 5 methods for fetching the books from the backend. And here also I will have my 5 functions. So they will appropriately call, for example, this is get all books function. This is get all books function. So what it will do, it will call get all books in, it will call get all books in the service will call get all books in the repository will fetch list of all the books, bring it back, bring it back, bring it back, give it to you. See, I now you try to understand, I could have done all this thing in one simple class, but it is not recommended to do that. The reason being, you have a problem here. Yeah, if you want to, this is what we are learning here is separation of concerns. When it comes to Spring Boot application, you will have to make sure that your application, it goes from this pointer to this pointer, this pointer to this pointer. You're breaking that data in the layered architecture. Yeah, you're breaking that data in the layered architecture. So what exactly are we doing here? We Spring Boot is all the game of annotation. Spring Boot is all about annotations. The annotation starts with at. Yeah, this annotation starts with that. Now there is one annotation, everything. Like if you want the concept here is that Spring Boot is nothing but a dependency injection container. So what does it say? That when you are in controller, so you mark your class as what? At controller. So it will get registered with Spring Boot. So whenever some call happens for the books controller, it will go and find it for you, and you don't have to write that code for yourself. The service layer will be marked at what? At service, and your repository layer will be marked as at repository. And this data, like whenever the book controller is looking for book service, Spring Boot will automatically inject that service for you. Yeah, when service is looking for repository layer will automatically inject that for you. Are you getting this? Are you getting this layered architecture? How will happen? We have already discussed about this earlier. Now we are going to put that in action. So now in context to your project, how do we start with that? Yeah, in context to your project, how do we start with that? So first, you will go to something called as Spring Starter. Yeah, Spring Starter IO. See, this is the website I have to start my project with. I am pushing that in my chat. Okay. Now here, see, this is very important. This is your pom dot. This is the starting point. How you can start with your project. Just give me 1 minute. Huh? Okay. So here, what we are going to select is we'll have our project in Maven. Our language will be Java. Then my Spring Boot. Just a minute. So here we have got language is Java, and my project is Maven, and then I select 3.4.3. Now this is where you will select your group name, which is going to be common across your project. So I'll select com dot code with Z. You select something very proper, and what is the artifact name for me? I'll call it as library. Okay, and the name of my project is library, and I go and change my project structure to com dot code with Z. Okay, I'm selecting Java version 17. Then on the right side, I need to add my dependencies. So here, some of the basic dependencies, you can anytime update these dependencies, but here I am using Spring Web, which will use Apache Tomcat as my default embedded container. Then I use Spring Boot DevTools. I have not yet added database support to this right now, so that is fine. No worries at all. And then later on, we can add much more. There are a lot of things available which we will start using now one by one. Okay. And then I will also add actuator. Actuator will help me to understand, monitor my application. Okay. So if you check explore, it will give you how your pom.xml will look like. Yeah. So I close that and I control. I download it. So the moment you download it, there will be a zip file download. Hey, am I audible to you all? Is the stream still buffering? Okay. So you were able to see what I did on that link. Yeah, you were able to see what I did on that link. So now at this point, what we will do is I have downloaded that project. I will open my IntelliJ. And I will open that project now, the Spring Boot project. So I go to open, and under my downloads, I had the library dot zip file. Okay, not here. Let me first check where did I keep that. Okay, this is here. I will bring that project into some internal location first. Okay, I will not here because this will create a problem. uh, I will keep it outside somewhere. I will keep it and I will extract it. Okay, and then I want to open that project. So let me open that project from my IntelliJ. So I go to open and C drive Z Academy library project, right? It was okay. So now is the screen visible? Okay. So I will take you back again. What I did on this particular part is, see, this is where I was. I created all these actions, yeah, and then I selected this dependencies, and then I did download. Generate will download this file. Yeah, it will, whatever is your artifactory name, based on that it will download the file. Once the file is downloaded, what will you do next is you extract that folder and you open your IntelliJ, and you now, where is that folder? Okay, there is a folder by name library. So after I extract this, what I need to do is, so I open my project in IntelliJ, not this. Okay, okay, see, this is my library project, and this is my main project which has this black icon. I click OK. I say I want to open this in new window. I close the previous one. So I have my application up here, and if you look at the structure of the application, you will find we have got src main java test java. Then I have got pom.xml. This is exactly the file which I have written earlier and which was working. So now you all have the implementation done for, we all have the implementation for IntelliJ, right? Based upon our previous last sessions, we have our IntelliJ up and ready. Setup is done. So we have got our src. See, the structure, it goes like, you have got src main, then you have got pom.xml. Yeah, and this is where your dependencies are, and how do you write it in your pom.xml. Now, what is the first thing I will do here is, under my Java, under code with Z, see, I told you here all will be annotation. So here, see, the first annotation is my Spring Boot. Just increase the font a bit. Okay. So now, If you look at it, this is my application which is actually running here. This is what it will start my Spring Boot application. Remember one thing is all your application data has to be inside. Yeah, all your application data has to be inside the same package now. So here I will create multiple packages now. So I'll start with the package. First package I'll call it as a model. Then second package I will create here is I will call it as controller. Then the third package I will create here, I will call it as service. Then the fourth package I'll create here is I'll call as repository. Then the fifth package I will create here, I have created model repository. Now I will create one more package called as config. Okay. Now I'm not obviously going to use all of them today, but there are certain packages which I'll keep on using. Okay. Just give me a minute. I'll be back. Okay. So next, as and when we require, I'll keep on adding the packages here. But what is the first thing I'll add here is now I will add the class of book. Okay, I will add the class of book, and what I'll do is okay. So when we have book here, okay, let's see how is that book looking like. So first I create a class of book, and inside book, what will I do is I will say private string, let's say book ID. Or do you want to give it as an integer itself? So I can make it as integer as well. So book integer book ID. Then private string title, private string author, private string ISBN, private int published year, which year this was published. Then I want to say private int how many books are there totally in stock. Okay, so I'll say total stock. Then private int available stock. Then private, for now I just say int staff ID because we have not created staff yet. And I will show you something called as one-to-one relationship when we go to JPA. And then private local date time, okay, added on. What date this was added on. So I create first simple implementation here. Then I say I want to generate what, setter and getter first. Okay, first my like the how I work is I will always generate first constructor. First is the blank one, then I will create one constructor with everything. So I'll select constructor and I select all. So all of my constructors are created. Then what is the next thing I do is I will generate my setter getter for all, and then I will create, next thing is what I will generate a to string function to print what is the data about that book. Okay. For DB queries, we should use ORM. Yes, I'm planning to use JPA. See, the plan is I am currently for you people itself. It was not the plan, but I am working on a video on Spring Boot and Spring Data JPA. So the idea is in 1 or 2 days, first video about Spring Boot will all come up. So all these things, what I'm doing, it's a detailed video about how it works. See, in the project session, I don't want to go into the teaching sessions, so I will give you that as a pre-reading material, which you can, like, obviously you're not going to implement it in one go, I know that. So you can learn from there, come back, do the implementations here. But you can watch this video on how to do it very fast in the project structure, right? So that's how we'll do. And then same way, I will also talk about JPA, Spring Data JPA, which will allow you to then work on your other project, like how to connect with the backend and so on. See, if you want to follow along with me, it is better that you stick to Java. If you have good work on Node, you know what you can do is you can use ChatGPT. I can give you like, obviously I will upload this project to a Git repo. Once you are inside your Git repo, you can just simply take this project, push it to the put on ChatGPT and say give me equivalent in Node. So you will start getting idea how it works. You can start converting this. Step one is the step one clear for everyone? I created the model here, which was my book. Yeah, which was my book. Then what will I do? I'll create a, see, if you see the structure how it is working, the structure is like this. First point of contact is what? Controller. Then controller depends upon service. Then the service depend upon repository. This is how it goes, and all these three class share one simple class together, that is sort of your model class. Now I am not focusing on repository today. It's not my plan for working on repository today. So what will I do is I will go for service. First I will create my service. Now controller depends upon service depends upon repository, they all of three depends upon model, because this is what they are writing this codes for. So now let me write my service layer first. Okay, let me expand this fully, and under my service I will write Java class, call it as what? Book service. And as I told you, we'll have to mark this class as what? At service. So when you mark this with at service, your Spring Boot will start recognizing this as to be a service. If you see, it start giving me this bean icon onto the left. Now I'm going to write 5 functions here, 5 methods. What are those? Public list of book, get all book. Okay, public list of book, get all book. And I say return null for now. I'm not returning anything. And let me import list. Then I want to return a single book. So I'll say what? Public book, get book by ID. Right now I'm just saying return null. Then public for now void add book, and I do nothing. Or I can actually just say I want to return a string, and I say return null for now as well. Then I want to do the update book. Sorry. Here I am also expecting us to pass the ID of the book, and then here also I am saying that I want to return a book. So I have not written the service layer yet. I will write my service layer, and this is where I will give you the data. Or in fact, let's say I want to create uh, So I have not connected the database yet, but if I want to connect my database, I can even in fact show you that as well. How do I get the data from the database? Like the first layer we can do today. For now, let me show you how the call happens. So here, if someone says, how do I return the book? Let me just quickly generate my book. Okay, for now, what I'll do is I will go to my I am using ChatGPT to sort of generate some of the code by the time we are connecting with the database. Let us focus on the very first two layers. So I'm creating a static block, and that static block is actually holding this data here. Uh, okay, see, I am using my static block, which will look something like this. Okay, which will look something like this. And so I have added certain books. Yeah, I have added certain books. Now, okay, see, this will go away for now quickly. Okay, so I have got a book list, and whenever someone asks for the book list here, I will just say return book list, which is the list of the books. Same way, then I want to get the single book. So here, if you pass me the book, how will I find this? Okay, see, for get book, I will just give me 1 minute. I am see, for getting an individual book, how can I fetch that book while getting the data? Is okay, is without stream. See, there is one thing you should learn now as we go ahead is the stream processing. Okay, see how will this look like now for returning the book? Is book from the book list. If this id matches, then I will return the book. So let us do what, for at least first two functions, let us try to use with this way. So now what exactly will happen here is we are fetching the data. We have got some static list of books, and now I want to write my controller. How will I write my controller? I will write my Java class, call it as what, book controller. Under my book controller, I will mark this as what, at rest controller. The annotation is what, marking it as what, at rest controller. And then at request mapping, we are telling them that all this one will start with what, slash books. So what we are telling them, that this is the rest controller. all the APIs, all the functions I create, if they are starting, they will be what, with slash books. So now the first function I will write is what, public list of book get all books. Okay, so this is now no longer a normal function. Yeah, you can do that anywhere, Sophia. Yeah, and how do you mark this? You will say this is nothing but at request or get mapping. Yeah, this is nothing but a get mapping. Because it is already slash books, I am okay with this. So what do I say is, first I will have to use my service layer here. How will I bring my service layer? I will say book service, and then I will write a public void set book service, and I will say this dot book service is book service, and here I will have to mark what, auto-wired. See how this work. Now the way I can get the data back is from where, is in my service layer. Now service layer is a bean. Why it is annotated with at service? So what happens here is, in my book service, if I want to use this book service, I will have to say this dot book service is equal to book service. Yeah, what will I have to say? This dot book service is equal to book service. I don't have to create an object. I do not have to instantiate. It's simply, you just declare the variable and get the value. Spring Boot will take care of injecting the value. Now what I'm doing, I'm just saying here, return book service dot get all books. At the same time, I will create one more mapping here. What is that? Public individual book get book by ID. Yeah, get book by ID. This time also it is what? It is at get mapping. Yeah, it is at get mapping. But because this time you are going to pass something, yeah, this time as you are going to pass something, you will have to say one more thing here is so when you write the path variable, how will you do that? You will say add get mapping. Already this is slash books, so you will say I want to add slash, and in my colon I want to say ID. Now this name and this name should match. So here what we'll do, we are saying that whatever value comes in path variable, you'll have to assign it to this particular ID. So we'll get this ID, and now we are saying what, return book service dot get book by ID, and we pass the ID, which will give us book which is available. At the same time, I have method, that is what, public string add book. Okay, this time I'll say it is what, at post mapping. So it will be what, post mapping for slash books. This will be what, post mapping for slash books, and in my slash books I will say this time it is what, it is coming as a request body. This will come as a request body. So here for now I will just return added. Same way I will make for public string update book, and here I will mark it as put mapping. And under put mapping, apart from this, we'll also have the ID incoming for this book. So I will say this is my book, and this is my path variable of ID. And here I'll say return. Yeah, we already have the functions available. Let's not focus on that. We'll say my book service dot add book, and we pass the book ahead to this. Yeah, then What we are doing when we want to pass it to the update, I will say return book service dot update book, and we'll pass it here. Then I'll say public string delete book, and return book service dot delete book, and this will be marked as what? Delete mapping with what? Slash id, which will be my path variable. Okay, so this is how I have created my various implementations. Now inside the resource folder, you will see there will be an application.properties, and this is where I'll define where this application will run. So I say server.port. By default it should be working on 8080. Let's see if 8080 is available. And now let's try to run this application. So if I try to run this application from here, from my main method, what will happen? See, it is asserting, it is start, and this is where it will start my application. And my application is up and running now. Now if you look at it, I will have various various things available. So if I go to Postman, let me open Postman. You have used Postman, right? You people have used Postman. Yes, no, have you used Postman? Oh, it's asking me to log in. Okay, so I am, yeah. So what I'll do is, in fact, in my project here, I will create a new collection, and under the collection I will call this as a library project. Under the library project, star it so that it will be on the top, and here I add a request. Let's say I add a get request, so I'll call it as get all books. Here I say http colon slash slash localhost colon 8080 slash books, and I say send. See, the moment I do that, all my data which was there in the API is I'm getting back. Yeah, are you understanding how my API have started working now? Obviously it is not connected to the database, but it has started working with here. At the same time, if I say slash book slash 3, what is the book at the third location here? Design patterns. I send it, and you see I only get the design pattern. Yeah, you send it and you get the design pattern. Now, yes, are we clear till this point, everyone? Book controller. Okay, I will quickly just create a API for like a repository for us. This is our backend repository. and I will copy this, go back here, paste, and I push. Okay, so I will give you this here as well, so that you know what exactly we have done in this project till this point. Okay, are we clear what I have started with here, everyone? Yeah, so I created a controller and I use that controller on my application. So now next I want to show you. See, there is an inbuilt tool which allow us to work with this many APIs. Let me just find something for us, something what we call as Swagger. Okay, something what we call as Swagger, which allows us to work on the project very easily. I will have to add one dependency. See, I'll have to go to my pom.xml, and in my dependencies I need to add one more dependency here, which is this dependency. Once I add this dependency to my application, what will I do? I will give it, and I will reload my application. Okay, once I reload my application, what is going to happen next is now I will have that Swagger available with me. So how I can do that is I will go to localhost slash, okay, see, there is one of the dependency, and yeah, this normally remains common for all the applications which are working on Swagger. So I say index.html. I will change, yeah, I will actually relaunch the application after I have added my dependency. Mm, I just added this dependency, yes, then nothing in config. See, this is my Swagger UI. All the APIs which are created, yeah, all the APIs which are created will be automatically available here. I don't need to go to Postman anytime. For example, I want to fetch books with ID. If I pass, let's say I click on try it out, and I want to find the fourth ID, and I execute. What will I find? Is C. This is the fourth ID I had. If I want to find all the books which are available here, and if I say try it out, execute. See, in the response, I will get all the data, all the files which were created. So this way, what happens here is you accept, create, and make a call for all the APIs. Are we getting this? Are we all getting this? I will make a new push so that you know how to actually make these changes. So I'll do what I have added Swagger support. Okay, and in fact, apart from this, let me in my application.properties itself, let me just make a comment and add this URL. So you know where to go, and like when you are implemented Swagger, I am just keeping this URL there so that you know where to go and find it. Yeah. Now I have a quick question to all of you. Are you actually following along or doing the steps with me? What is your plan? Are you planning to work with me on this project together? Are you getting understanding of this project now? Like how will we start structuring our project? This is, see, I am considering that you will catch up. So are you doing that? Yes, are you people doing that? Can you help me out in the chat window? Have you started with your projects? Now, like, see, I got around 5 or 7 people. They created your scrum boards. See what will happen based on this. Now after I go to my scrum board is I have started add the books into the backend. So now it has went, like, I have taken in my first sprint, I will just take update books, delete books, and fetch books, of which fetch books is something I have started in the to do. Yeah. Now see, this way it will give me an idea how my project is going ahead now. How it happens is I can go here and, like, if what I have done is I have connected to a static backend. Next step, to connect with DB. Okay. So once I save this, it is giving me a step-by-step update. Are you getting this? What is happening here? Yeah. Are we understanding what we are doing? I will make the changes. I have added my project. I have made the things changed, and now I will start working on this. Yeah. So this way, what happened is I don't have any problem, Griffin. See, I am not asking you to make changes to your. See, one question, Griffin. Can you tell me? Does Laravel allows you to create the APIs? Does Laravel allow you to create API? It's an API based implementation, correct? What you are doing right now. Even internally, it will be on APIs. So you use Node, you use the .NET, you use Java. I don't have to. I don't worry about that. See, the thing is, I am showing you implementation in one of the way. Why I have choose Spring Boot? Because I have taught you people Spring. So it will be much better for me to get the connectivity and help you with this whole implementation. Now why am I pushing this codes into your application as well? So that you can copy this, like, in case if you're stuck somewhere, you want to copy something. Now for example, have you heard about Swagger before this? Have any one of you heard about Swagger before this? Now don't you think so it is better that I use Swagger before? Because the moment I start adding the APIs, it will automatically get listed here, and I don't have to worry about going and adding a new API like I do in the Postman. So don't you think so this is a much better tool? Now what is your task for today? You go home, you will search, like, how do I integrate Swagger in Laravel? Are you understanding what is the plan of action here? Yeah. Okay then. Yeah. So I have given you the projects. Start working on it. If you have any questions, uh, you must be having that group or somewhere. You can just ping me. You have my number. You can ping me. See, next session I will show you how to integrate. Now what am I expecting from you people if you're following along? Is how many entities do I have? I have got 1, 2, 3, 4 entities. So next time when we meet, I will have the model, the controller, and the service ready for all these 4 entities. Can I expect that? Like, if you have broken your data into the ER model, I have just shown you for one, you will make it for all 4. Is that possible? Yes, no, maybe something. I think that should be possible now, right? At least to make this static API calls, so that when we meet in next session, I'll show you how to connect with the database using JPA. and then I will also show you that how will you take care of the business logic in the backend, like when some book is being loaned, when some book is being returned, how do you take care of that? Is that okay, everyone? Yeah. Okay, so that's it from today's session. We'll connect mostly on, what is today, Monday. We'll connect on Wednesday or Thursday. Okay, thank you.